Hello, Bolly.id lovers, apa kabar? Saya balik lagi. Ini hari ini kita punya guest ini agak special karena dia mengajar kita um, tapping untuk mengrilis stres kita. Nontonlah, oke? Okay? Ini benar-benar bisa membantu kita. Okay? Um, Ladies and gentlemen, our guest today is from the US. He's a tapping expert. And Brad Yates is a master of emotional freedom technique through tapping. He's the author of the best-selling children's book, The Wizard's Wish, the co-author of the bestseller Freedom at Your Fingertips, and a featured expert in the film The Tapping Solution. Today, Brad will enlighten us on what emotional freedom technique is all about. And we all have to watch him. Brad, I'll be adding you. 1 minute. Yeah. Hi, Brad.
Excellent.
How are you?
I'm excellent, thanks. How are you?
Okay, good. I am so honored that you have agreed to come online with us here. I know you have a very busy schedule, and thank you.
No, it's great, Arun, because it's in the evening for me. So the workday is done. So now I have time to have fun and hang out with you.
Okay. And, in the meantime, let's just warm up a bit because I think people are just still coming in. They're just, let's just give them a few minutes. And what I believe you've been teaching a lot of people because my cousin in Bombay said that you were there in some class or something, maybe 1 or 2 years ago. I don't know when. I think via Zoom or something. Or
Oh,
tapping.
in India?
Yes.
Yeah, I actually just did a tapping session with a group in India on when was that? Just last week.
Oh, okay. Then it was last week. Then I misheard. I misheard
Yeah.
her.
But
Okay.
I've done a number of them, so she could be referring to one that I did a few years ago.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I'm always tapping. There's
So maybe you can start, Brad, by explaining to us what is, we're all new, we're all new on this topic. We've in our country, it's like just coming up and we're not really aware of what emotional freedom techniques, are all about. I believe there are a lot of techniques. One of them is tapping, right? Am I right?
Well, so there are a lot of these processes or mind-body techniques that originally based on acupuncture. So for thousands of years in Chinese medicine, they've said there's a flow of energy through the body along these pathways that are called meridians. And when the energy is flowing naturally, we experience our natural state of health and well-being, physically and emotionally. And when the energy gets stuck, we don't feel so good. And so in traditional acupuncture, the doctor would stick needles in these key points to stimulate that healthy flow of energy. And we are just using our fingertips to tap these same points. And it sends a calming signal to our to our brain and just to our system. And so there are several techniques that use this tapping. The main one that is used by a lot of folks is emotional freedom techniques, or EFT. So EFT is just one of the tapping techniques. And for the most part, for most people, tapping and EFT are pretty interchangeable.
Okay, so can you just explain to us what emotional freedom technique is? What is emotional freedom? How do you define that?
Yeah, it's that freedom to feel better. We experience things, we are triggered by events, and it causes us to have different emotions. Sometimes it makes us feel happy, sometimes it makes us feel sad, angry, afraid. And very often we get trapped in those uncomfortable feelings and we don't know how to get out of it. So we sit around feeling upset for hours, days, weeks for some folks. And so that's this thing happening in our system, this stress event that's happening in our system. And so by tapping these points and calming down that stress response, we then have emotional freedom. We have freedom to feel better. And because our choices are based on our emotions, when we're not feeling good, we tend to make unhealthier choices. And we don't make the best choices in terms of our careers. We don't make the best choices in terms of our relationships, because our choices are confined by how we're thinking. So again, as we tap and we clear out the stress and we feel better, we feel more peace, we feel a more emotional freedom, we then have the freedom to make better choices. And when we make better choices, we get better results in life and we have a much happier life.
Okay. So question is, besides tapping, is there another way, another technique for emotional, for the EFT? Or it's just tapping?
So EFT, the basic version of emotional freedom techniques, and this is based on another technique called thought field therapy. It was a psychologist named Roger Callahan who back in around 1980 was working with a woman with a lifelong water phobia, which she'd had for about 40 years. And it was very difficult for her to be around water. She could only bathe in like an inch of water. It was just very traumatic for her. And Dr. Callahan was trying to help her with traditional psychotherapy. And he had been learning about acupuncture and acupressure and this system of meridians. And one day he said, all right, so how do you physically experience the fear? And she said, well, I get a knot in my stomach. And he said, oh, okay, well, I've learned that the stomach meridian point is right here under the eye. Let's see if we can do something about that knot in your stomach. And he taps under her eye for a few moments. And she said, it's gone. He said, well, what's gone? She goes, the fear, and runs out of the house towards the swimming pool. And he's running after her saying, stop. She goes, no, it's okay. I know that I don't know how to swim. But she got down by the water and started splashing water in her face. And she said, I feel fine. So Dr. Callahan said, well, that's interesting. And he started experimenting with different clients and found that for different emotional issues, he would tap different points in different sequences. And he called that thought field therapy. And then he started teaching this process because after a year, all of his patients who were seeing him on a regular basis were feeling fine, and he put himself out of business. So he started teaching this process to others. And one of his first students was this gentleman named Gary Craig. And Gary had his degree in engineering from Stanford. And so he's looking at this process of trying to figure out which points to tap in which sequence. And he said, okay, we're only tapping 8 points. Wouldn't it be simpler to just tap all 8 points and not spend any time trying to figure out which points to tap? And he found that he was getting the same great results. So it was a much simpler, much quicker way of doing it. And so he called this new version of tapping these 8 points emotional freedom techniques. So EFT is this process of just tapping these points in a series.
So which points are this?
So I'll take you all through